Morning, everyone. Would it surprise you if I told you that we're in the middle of a vitamin D deficiency pandemic? It's estimated that about 1 billion of the world's population, that's billion with a B, is deficient in vitamin D. And as was just mentioned, somewhere between 40 to 75% in the United States. You see, humans are sun-loving species. We evolved in the sun, we evolved to be out in the sun, and we evolved to make vitamin D from the sun. We make it in our skin when we expose ourselves to the sun. So why aren't we getting enough these days? I mean, the sun's shining here in California. It's sunny almost every day, so you'd think we'd be able to just get all we need. Well, a big factor, as was also mentioned, is our indoor lifestyles. You know, we work indoors, we play indoors, we live indoors. So it's clear we're not getting outside enough in today's world. I mean, how many of you yesterday went outside for 30 minutes and just sat in the sun between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m.? See? Not many of you. And the other thing that's really interesting about vitamin D is that, unlike other vitamins, you can't get it in your food. There just isn't enough in your diet to rely on diet alone to get enough. You'd have to eat 6 pounds of wild-caught salmon each day in order to get the vitamin D you need from food, which I'm sure many of us aren't able to do. Finally, we're in the middle of a sun scare. You know, we're afraid of skin cancer, we avoid the sun, we use sunscreen. And skin cancer is a true risk of sun exposure, but it's often only an infrequent, excessive sun exposure. That's opposed to that 20 to 30 minutes I just mentioned of daily moderate sun exposure. And in fact, melanoma, which is the most serious form of skin cancer, is more common in indoor workers and on areas of the body least exposed to the sun. Research suggests that consistent, moderate, daily sun exposure actually can reduce the risk of melanoma and reduce the risk of mortality for melanoma. So you might be wondering, okay, we're not getting enough vitamin D. Why do I even need it? What's it important for? Well, it's important for a lot of stuff. Classically, vitamin D helps you absorb the calcium that you eat in your diet and mobilize it throughout your body. This helps you build strong bones. We've all seen the Got Milk commercials. And when you don't have enough vitamin D, your body acts to pull that calcium from your bones, which over time can lead to weakened bones and things like osteomalacia or rickets in children. What's even more interesting about vitamin D is there's receptors for it all throughout your body. On almost every cell and tissue, there's a receptor for vitamin D. What this means is that vitamin D can bind to these receptors and transmit signals basically communicating with them, telling them to perform a certain way or act in a certain function. For example, in the immune system, an area where vitamin D plays a major role, it binds to your immune cells and helps make them smarter and communicate properly. So it helps build a strong immune system and helps defend against colds and flus and things like that. It can bind to cancer cells and help tell them to die, stop spreading, and stop growing. It can bind to cells in your arteries and help prevent them from overproducing themselves and building up plaques and blocking your blood flow, which is related to high blood pressure and other heart diseases. So you can see it's important for your bones, your heart, your immune system, overall cell function. There's even receptors for vitamin D in your brain, indicating a role for it with mental health and your mood, such as with depression. So I don't want to leave you all here scared that, we're not going to get enough vitamin D, we can't get it, and we're all going to be deficient for the rest of our lives. Because getting the vitamin D you need each day is actually really easy, especially here in SLO. We're lucky we live at a latitude where vitamin D production from the sun is virtually available year-round. As I was mentioning, all you need is about 20 to 30 minutes of sun exposure between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. if you have a very light skin type, or maybe up to an hour or an hour and a half if you have very dark skin type. My favorite rule of thumb to know if you're making vitamin D outside is the shadow rule. So if you're outside and your shadow is shorter than you are tall, then you are making vitamin D from the sun, and vice versa. If it's longer than you are tall, you're not making vitamin D. I can't stress enough that you do not need to burn or tan in order to get the vitamin D you need. You just need that moderate, consistent exposure of about 20 to 30 minutes or up to an hour. But I know many of you are like me. We work 9 to 5 indoors throughout the week, so it's really hard for us to get outside during that 10 a.m., 2 p.m. period to get the vitamin D we need. So the next best thing you can do is take a supplement. We would recommend you take 5,000 units a day and no more than 10,000 units a day. Finally, get tested about twice a year. And this would be a really good time to do it because we're about to head into winter, so likely a lot of us are going to start having lower levels. You want to shoot for a level between 40 and 80 nanograms per milliliter, with the natural level being around 46, and that's based on what our contemporary foraging populations and our evolutionary environment are getting these days. So if you test and your levels are low, work with your doctor, find a dose that is safe and effective in raising your levels, and maintain them in that healthy range. So if you follow those 3 steps, you're likely to raise your levels into the healthy range and maintain them throughout the year. And if you're looking for more resources, you can visit our website, the Vitamin D Council, and we have information like this as well as a host of other articles and information. Thank you.